Friday.
So
we had to warn
one of the
you guys
comments
Friday.
on
They would go
was from one of her former
in here.
this is one of my favorite comments. Basically, this is some of these
The things that I want to put my budget is just training.
And fiber versus cost.
even when you buy a card, you still choose anyway. So she said, so yeah, so then she said,
Look,
you're
no,
not thinking
look, I was really
come
watching.
riding in with my German Shepherd today. Check it out. So
I was like, what is
Miss Terry riding a
Years
German
what?
Shepherd.
I think a lot of
I said that to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's
For a slideshow at some point.
artificial intelligence is great. You can just
That is
repeat a picture.
Oh, yeah, oh my goodness.
I had a picture of Terry and I was
What,
like, oh yeah.
what did you use to make that?
Gemini.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tabasco sauce.
Hi, Coach Bailey.
Hey, how are you?
Well, thank you. I didn't get a chance to say hi because everybody was chatting.
You got your shoes back on last week.
Beyonce, I got hot sauce.
Jay, I'm thinking about it tonight.
I didn't smell that.
I don't see anything like they are very busy with kids and senior year and Nate's senior year.
He's working a lot of overtime too.
His truck's gone a lot.
Sorry. No, I didn't get bored. So
I know, I need that.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
I went out and jumped in puddles.
But we're gonna sheet a little bit. My husband bought this portable,
Goose poop.
so we're gonna have our portable
This
heater
market.
under the table. The food restaurant,
Hey,
especially if it's when you're judging the parade on Saturday.
It was fun.
Because once
Everyone has received the changes to the budget. It's just courts, so y'all don't have to freak out. Just a reminder, we are live and recording. If you can speak up, the microphones are in the middle of the table, really, so the presenters, if you could speak up, and then if you're talking on the side of the room, you definitely can't hear it. We can go ahead and get started, and just, I'll give you very briefly, the only thing that changed in courts was personnel related. So that affected the personnel pages, which of course shows on the operating and personnel page, which of course shows on the general fund summary and general fund expenditures page. But with that, Judge Bailey, I'll pass it to you.
All right. What I have is, it looks like we're gonna have a $5,000 reduction in our budget from last year. The line 47,400, which is close near to the bottom, equipment less than $5,000. That one, where is it? 47,400. That one is going to be reduced by $3,000. The computer maintenance budget line item 44,328. That one is reduced by $2,000. Technically, essentially, our budget is reducing by $5,000, and I have a request to have a part-time clerk that's already actually working, but I haven't replaced senior court personnel whose salary was like $72,000. I'm proposing to reduce that to a minimum of $60,000, which would give me $11,000 plus the 5. And what I'm asking is, the final ask would be of the council is to approve a $2,000 increase for me to cover a part-time person for next year. It would be, I'm making adjustments in my regular budget, the budgeted salary for that senior personnel, we're reducing that by $11,000. My regular budget is decreasing by about 5, and I wanted to ask the council for the deficit.
And really quickly, I just realized I added the part-time position, but then didn't reduce the probation officer bailiff position.
Okay.
So if you look at page 46, I mean to do that, you'll see that the probation officer bailiff position is still at just shy of 72. And the idea is we're moving that down to 61,000. It was just a very senior position that had been here for a long time. And then so ultimately, while I'm not building in positions in general to the budget, because they had $5,000 reduction in their operational and then the reduction of 11,000 to salaries, that covers the all but about 2,000 of the part-time position, and they really wanted that, which is why they were looking at some of those cuts to be able to keep that position. Because that number was so small, I did just go ahead and throw it in here. But obviously, I need to also go in and reduce the bailiff position.
Yeah, the justification for the part-time position is really, I hadn't filled the probationary position yet, because what I realized is when I fill it, I was going to lose that part-timer that my clerk has come to rely on for doing supplemental cashier work and clerical work, and we're really trying to get on track, and I didn't want to snatch the rug out from under her in that respect. So I do plan to fill it, but I'm gonna fill it about first of the year with the lower salary.
Any questions on courts? Sweet, that makes it easy.
Very easy. No questions?
Thank you all.
Then we'll excuse ourselves. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome to stay though.
I know. We can,
She's
we
like, I
can
know.
watch it on video. Thank
Yes,
you.
can.
Thank you so much.
By the time you pull away, we'll have another question.
So next up, we're jumping to city attorney. We'll come back to him. Parks. And just so you know, city attorney and, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
City attorney and planning and economic development are in a subcommittee meeting, so we'll just get to them when they get here. But Philip, the floor is yours.
All right, Mr. Sheehan asked for a, update on Park on the River, so I've got that for everybody. Instead of y'all trying to count those, I had to put my readers on, there's 40 rentals. And the one highlighted, we just didn't want any rentals on that holiday, that's Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Let's see. On the Parks Department's operational budget, there's not a whole lot of changes. It's pretty close to the amount we had in 25. And we can go over those line by line, or just ones you have questions on. I know one of the largest things that we did was janitorial supplies. We've added not only for our department but citywide. We just have more events than we've had in the past. The food truck part, or not the food truck part, the food truck festival. Takes a lot of trash bags to pick all that, and basically trash bags and toilet paper for our department.
Depends on which food truck you come to.
Right. So, yeah, if anybody has any questions on operating any of the line items.
I will say this, I have not yet built in we anticipate some costs for Millwood Station. that, it'll be under its own program code. So the way Parks works, and some of you old timers may remember this, we used to almost present a separate budget for each of the different parts of Parks and Rec. So the community center, admin, the pool, the, ball fields, the soccer complex, which meant their budget was massive. We still track those internally with the program code. We just need to build that program code and then add some funds in. What we're thinking, maintenance should be fairly low the first year, but there will be some electrical costs, some internet costs, dumpster costs, and so that'll be added in. We don't think those numbers will be astronomical. Was there anything else in there that we needed to mention with Millwood Station?
No, I mean, that's, they're still working on it, and, I mean, everything, it was a terrible day, but, the, facility's really coming together, and they've got a few issues to, clean up on some water ponding, but other than that, they're getting close, seems like to me anyway.
The sign looks great.
Yes, it did turn out good.
I'm noticing a theme with the sign. It looked very similar to something else I'd seen.
Mhm.
I like it. It looks good.
Branding.
We're trying to do that a little bit more,
yeah.
rather than just kind of reinvent the wheel and have everything look ragtag. And that's not just in buildings or signs, but the idea is that even some of our logos are different. So we're working on that kind of across the board.
No, it looks great. So it looks like your expenses are down, like overall. I mean, every line item was down. Revenues, do you think that's gonna, what do you see in there? Is it just memberships down?
Well, the pool was actually, I think, on an average year for us. It wasn't a boom or anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, memberships, pickleball is in there.
Okay.
So those memberships, tennis memberships, and the council hasn't noticed, we resurfaced the tennis courts, so they're looking brand new now.
Okay.
Nobody was there playing today, but the surface was good.
I'm sure. They'll be back. How are we gonna do Millwood Station? Is that gonna be, are we gonna generate enough revenue from food trucks to offset expenses? Do y'all have any idea?
That is the idea with the food truck component
Right.
of it. So we'll have electricity, water that is associated with the food trucks, and then we're gonna have things just with the pavilion lights and the string lighting. The goal is that we're able to pay the costs of the food truck park with the food truck park revenue. But it's hard for us, it may take a year or two to
And I didn't mean
balance that
make
out, yeah.
a bunch of money. I'm just thinking, you're bringing in food trucks that are using our electricity. I figured we were charging an appropriate rate for that.
Yeah, that's the idea. We're trying to figure that out, and part of that is based on gauging interest. Personally, especially at the launch, I would rather underprice it to get people in and get it used than try to break even on day one, so to speak.
Right.
Because the success of that is very much contingent upon, the food trucks being there and finding it profitable to be there. We're still trying to work through Courtney's handling that sort of programming of that part, and we're trying to figure out the right rate. We've put out a link on our website if anyone's interested. We want to start having those conversations with people so that we make it both affordable but cover costs.
Yeah.
Plus some.
It's rather open-ended right now, just asking like, do you wanna come weekly or monthly, or, it's very, but
That's good.
it's getting good response, and also the park, I think Philip will be the first park with Wi-Fi,
Yes.
which is really exciting.
Oh, okay.
That's a real
And
draw for
the Parks
folks to come in.
Department will do all the upkeep of it and that mowing and picking up trash and cleaning the bathrooms, and so we'll still be involved in it, and then of course help with any kind of special event that needs us.
excited for it. It's great.
It should be done in the next month, but we're not gonna really launch it until March.
You don't wanna go out there in January and have a grand opening?
I wanna make sure
Wait for
that
a snowy
after
day.
the grand opening, it's used, not there's a grand opening and then it sits vacant for 3 months and then we try and kick it
Yeah.
off again.
They'll find it.
Is there any other questions? You have capital too, you
Yes,
wanna
I
talk about?
do got some capital that we wanna discuss, and then we've got 2 other issues, one of them's pretty big.
Yes.
It's always good when you laugh
For
first.
last.
So
Let's go
page
with,
58 is where the capital is?
Yes, sir. And we've got, put in, we have, a couple of cameras at Lake Willestein, one where we can see the restroom area, and then the other where we can see the, pavilion that's out there. I don't think we had, I don't know, did we have any break-ins out there that you remember for this year? As far as like windows?
No, not
Out there, but we have in the past, so, and it will also let us see who's coming and going, because I do think we have some people sleeping in the restrooms certain nights, and we have toilet rolls that are like this big around, and it was first of last year, we couldn't keep them in there, they were, I don't know what they were, well, maybe they know what they're doing with it, but, yeah, we probably at least a case. And it was like every other weekend, and then it just stopped. So I guess they got stocked up on the toilet paper. The smaller playground at soccer at the Rolling Oak Complex, it is splitting at the slides, and it's basically been worn out. Even the rubber on the treads of the, yeah, it's all metal now. So that's
And-
price of getting one that's about the same size as that was $51,400.
And Philip advised that we either need to replace it or take it down, but that it really can't stay in its current condition.
I would say that is, well, Lake Willestein is heavily used, the new playground is heavily used. But go to the soccer complex between 5:30 and 8, that playground is teeming with children.
Yeah. And it's
I
not
tried
that
to keep
big.
them out of it, cause that rubber, or they'd always end up with
It is,
black.
The rubber doesn't bother them. I like the pour in place, but it is more expensive. But yeah, all our playgrounds are heavily used. And we've been fortunate enough to being able to add some in as we go too. I figure the next one down the road will be the one on Woodland. Let's see. We had for the pickleball, we had all the benches didn't have shade, so we're looking at trying to put 2 shade structures in at the pickleball courts to cover those. We've got $22,000 for 2 treadmills to put in the weight room and health club. And then the dugouts at softball, they're needing to be re-roofed, and that'd be at a cost of about $12,000. And that's all the capital we have in there. And then we'll move to, we've got, for some reason, we were checking our dates, and it seems like it's been 25 years since the last, when we upgraded, remodeled the community center. And also the fire and security alarm, it's a silent night. They don't make parts for it anymore. And that's something we pretty much have to keep a building open, is the fire alarms and all the stuff that goes with it. And that's at $45,032. And that's something that we took a while to get us the quotes in. This is from Fleming. I wouldn't want to use VSC. I think they stuck it to us on a, cause they were still able to get a few modules or whatever, but it was over almost anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 for them to come in and change one out, which I think I could have done it myself. But, that's something that we really need to look at hard to be able to keep the, community centers on that one. And then, the biggest one is the carrier contract. Now,
Was
we did-
just to be clear, the security or the fire alarm system, was that in here?
No, that we had tried to get it in and finally got the quote in. It took them longer than we expected. And I brought Gordon in. Carrier has, Gordon's worked for Carrier since they put it in at the, community center back in 02.
He's trying to say I'm old.
Not true.
Yeah, as Philip and I talked earlier, and he alluded to already, the community center is almost at 25 years post remodel. In addition to the fire alarm system, which is now antiquated, our HVAC systems are also in that same category. Even from the industry standards, we've nursed them along 10 years, about 10 years past what they expected them to really hold up. Part of the issue we also have is the refrigerant used on these systems has been discontinued and actually is against the law to even import since 2020, and that's R22. So we can't even fill them up again. They still have some R22 out there. It's extremely expensive, and we've basically been told if we don't replace these systems, they're not going to be able to work on them much longer. We are under a full service contract, and that has saved us on many occasions. I was noticing in the budget, the fire department's needing a new compressor, I think, for one of their units, $12,000 a pop. Well, we put in a new compressor this last year, and it didn't cost us any extra because we're under a full service contract. So anytime a compressor, a condenser, a heat exchanger, anything like that goes down on our systems, Carrier covers that for us. And it's been beneficial to us in the years past. I think last year's was around $17,000. No, it's 24 was $17,000 for our contract. Moving forward, it's going to jump to $28,500 for this next year if we're able to get them to sign a full service contract. The other option is the large item that Philip was alluding to, and I'm glad we're all sitting down. It's only $800,000. And that is to replace all the systems on the roof of that community center. Part of the issue there is they got to bring in a crane or a helicopter. And they're actually, the helicopter sounds crazy, but it might even be the cheaper route. To take all these systems off the roof, put brand new systems on, upgrade all of them, upgrade all the thermostats, also make them controllable from our phones. Because right now when we have rentals, people can go in there and you can't lock them out. They've broken into all of our stuff before by putting shields on them, and they changed the codes on them, and I have to go in and reset everything. They would make it to where we could do this remotely. Now, the $800,000, we've had meetings with the mayor and with Carrier. There is a financing program through LEAF, and Carrier utilizes them on a lot of large municipal projects where they could get the funding through them, and that it could be extrapolated out over a 5-year period of time. So we are at a watershed moment where we can either kick the can down the road, or we're going to have to start looking at some financial avenues to replace all of our HVAC systems. It's not a want to. We're there. We've been putting together information on this for the past year and a half. Partly Carrier was getting us all the information on their part, and then we were able to sit down with the mayor with their representatives here a month or two ago, and they were able to get us back some information, some data, and some numbers, and that's something the board's going to have to kick around as is to, if we are able to get them to do the full service contract for next year, that's great. But we're gonna be sitting here again next year, looking at the same situation. And a lot of the problems, in addition to them just being outdated, if you remember 2 years ago, we had a huge hailstorm. It collapsed a lot of the fins on the air units, and they can't be brushed out, and that creates issues mechanically in regards to the head pressure on the compressors, and it starts developing more issues for these already old systems. So they're looking at definitely a large ticket item, but to keep our center open, that's something we need to do. Any questions?
Do we know when they will tell us if we can do a contract with them for next year?
Their contract is January timeframe, so it's coming up quick, fast, and in a hurry. They wanted us to be able to have this information and present it to the board, the council, and if the council decides to go with full service, we'll go back to them with that and see if they will approve that or not.
So you don't know?
I do
if
not
they
know
will
yet,
do it.
no,
Okay,
sir.
that's what I.
But they have worked, Carrier's been easy to work with, and like I said, we've had them, and Gordon knows most of the
Repair guys.
the repair guys, but, yeah, we could, I mean, if we can get the contract, that would give us a little more time, but it's still coming.
You're just kicking it down the
Right.
road, and then it's $950 next year.
Yeah, that was a good point. That was the other thing they brought up. The prices that they're looking at
Of course
right
they
now,
would.
with everything going on in the world, this is what they're looking at now. The further we push it on down the road, of course, it's just like building a house. It doesn't get any cheaper.
What do they charge for financing? Do they give you any
We're
rates?
already approved for the 800,000.
Like,
Interest rate?
What's the
yeah,
interest?
what's the charge?
I don't know.
I don't know that either. They just gave us
So-
the,
They said, I don't remember how it worded it.
They should have given like a proposal or something at least.
Yeah, well, when I met with them last, I was trying to, like, we know they'll need to be replaced soon. Maybe now, maybe later. The question is, if we can keep the full service, that makes it a little bit easier, but it's still stuff we gotta talk about now. But, even if they don't do full service, the question is, like, what is the cost gonna be? What anticipated cost of trying to maintain them and get the parts and find them, and what is the expected downtime, and so on and so forth for that. And I forget what they called it. It wasn't a pro forma, but they mentioned that they'd get me something, and I didn't get it. It may be in my email box, but I was talking to Philip about this the other day. I don't know that I've seen it to make that decision. So when Philip was like, well, what are we doing with that? I'm like, well, at the very least, we're bringing it up at, at this point, because we don't want to spring in fact, I remember last year, kind of just before budget, I'm like, they brought it and had a big, I know I'm in trouble when when Gordon comes in with
I have
Philip,
to
I'm
have
like,
a
oh boy,
backup.
what's going on?
Yeah, when
And,
Gordon comes in, you're like, oh, it's bad.
Yeah. Well, because it's Philip saying, hey, I'm gonna have backup, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting ambushed, what is this about? And I'm like, yeah, just look into the price of getting new ones, if we need new ones, we'll go ahead and do that. And then they came back and said 800,000, and I was like, well, I don't know what I was thinking, but it wasn't that. So, just my commentary on that is that, I don't,
Well, it's obviously needed. It's a large purchase. If we even had to kick it into 2026, meaning like a regular council meeting, if we needed to discuss something at that point, we could, if y'all have more information.
and we can reach back out to them, Mayor, and find out if they'll do the 28.5 for this next year, and give you that information, but, yeah, I mean.
I think it'd be good to consider what their financing plan looks like versus dropping $1 million on something that we
yeah.
don't necessarily have in the general fund to give.
Well, the thing too is the building is 25 years old, so we're just talking about the HVAC, right? What else is
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be, I mean, it's gonna start to be like, just like your house is,
Yeah,
one
no,
thing
totally.
goes, and then the next thing, and you've got the next thing, and you've got the next thing. So, and the community center is so, I mean, we talk about the use of this place, but I would guarantee you, the use of your north room and south room, I mean, with the limited event space that we have, to have anything public here, those rooms are, the community center is so used by our
That's one thing
people.
we have seen is an uptick at the community center and the pavilion. It's the pavilion at Lake Wilstein. We might wanna put two more of those out there for
Wow.
revenues, but, about every weekend we have rentals, and sometimes two, which drives me crazy because some people don't clean up after themselves and we have to go out, so.
That's not a bad idea, having multiple pavilions out there.
They even rent that little one at the very end, that little gazebo.
Somebody who got married there.
Yeah, yeah. My ex-boss got married there.
Any,
Good news?
additional questions? Concern?
Unless anybody's got any questions, that's, everything went pretty smooth this year, like budget was, and I don't think we're very much higher. I know we've kinda gone up and down, cause a lot of our, especially for, utilities, it just depends on the weather. Cause if the community center if it's really cold for a long time, we'll see a $3,000, $4,000 heating bill. But sometimes we don't, get that cold, and then rain's another factor, but, yeah, cause we've got the most facilities in Maumelle.
We keep giving you more.
Yeah.
For
Streets
better or
would
worse.
say there's an awful lot of, if you count a street as a facility.
A street's the facility? Now.
Anywho, any, last questions for Philip? If not, thank you,
Thank you for the revenue. Can you get me a copy of the expenses?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Got a question for you, Mr. Mayor.
I can
Now,
tell you-
this isn't to do with
I can tell you
parks.
the expenses, hang on just a second.
He can pull it up, right?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Park on the river.
Can we break that out as an expense item on the revenue or expense? Oh, there you go.
Year-to-date actuals is 13.9.
I don't know what the big difference is, but their utilities out there, like water, is so low, way lower than mine in my house.
Well, and you've got all those trees around it to help
Right.
shade it.
Yeah. The only thing that's hurting it is all the window.
Well, true.
The grass.
The last event I went to out there, one of the units was out, and you could tell.
Yeah.
Because part of the room was really good, but you get in this corner, it was bad.
Yeah, I think that's when we put in that split unit
Yes.
to help catch
Michael,
up.
did you, I'm sorry, Tierney, did you have?
Yeah, on page 58, this goes back to the CIP on the fire. Didn't they reduce that from 2 vehicles to 1 yesterday?
No, sir.
Because I thought he originally asked for 2, and I thought he'd reduced that down to 1 there.
I don't think so. I think he,
Public Works had asked for a couple, right?
I can go over and,
Yeah, Public
pull it
Works.
up.
Yeah, it was Public Works
Yeah.
had two, and then they took
Yeah,
it to
they
one.
took off one and left one.
Fire capital. Yeah, they had the two that I included, and I don't think they pulled one off. They mentioned both of the cars that had the 200,000 miles on it, and the one that had been in a wreck 7 years ago.
Otherwise, it's brand new.
Otherwise, it's brand new. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Sir.
your time. Thank you. Y'all don't pick on Chief too much. He's all by himself.
He's an easy
He
target.
can handle
He
it.
is an easy.
But he is armed.
Bye, you guys.
Right.
See you tomorrow.
Good evening.
So at the request of Councilmember Gardner, I'm gonna go line by line,
Especially on your utilities.
especially on utilities. What page? But I believe I'm on page
it starts on 13 and it goes for the next 4 pages or something.
I'm just gonna hit the high points for y'all so that we can save time. We have a very lean, budget, and I appreciate
Very
Ken-
what?
Lean budget, yes. For what we need, yeah. Let's start with, I guess, the largest jumps. And the first one that pops out is under personnel expenses, and that's the uniform allowance. If the council remembers, I brought to them last year about upping the uniform allowance over the next 2 years. And I failed to put it properly in the budget last year, so it got left out. This year I've requested for it to double so that the uniform allowance would be $2,000 for 2026. At the end. That helps with recruitment. We still are down 3 officers. Still working through that. We have a large increase in medical supplies, and this is partly due to, during the course of the year, I was watching the issue unfold at Conway over their shooting at one of their parks, and something jumped out to me that we have been lacking, and they have a trauma kit in every car for such a situation as that. We don't have that, so I built that into our medical supplies. You also see a large increase to ammo and targets. That line item used to be $7,500 several years ago, and then it got cut. It was one that had been cut and cut, even as we grew with more officers. So one of the things that has jumped out that we cannot control is the police academy. When we send new hires to the police academy, they no longer provide ammunition during the qualification and practice phases. That's now on the department to provide. Software licensing jumped quite a bit this year. Some of that is due to having those in other line items where they didn't belong. So I'm consolidating, and there's a few line items that zeroed out. But software licensing is everything from our CAD to our records management to the in-car computers for them to be able to do reports, and everything that goes along with that. Dispatching services, the mayor's real happy with this one. He's worked closely with us, trying to figure out everything that's needed. We've had several different numbers come back from North Little Rock, so it's kind of been a back and forth on this one. Do you want to speak to any of that?
Sure. So the number that I put in there is we have to pay 23% of their costs for that facility. I took their past budget from their resolution, and that's 23% of what they put in there. Now, and I did not include their capital requests, but that's a story for another time maybe. The reality is we believe for this year, for 25, that we pay based on the budgeted number, and then at the end of the year it gets reconciled out, and if their costs were lower than the budgeted number, we get refunded or credited. We haven't sorted that out yet. I'd prefer refunded. But we know they've had staffing shortages. We suspect that the budgeted number, just like we never hit our full budgeted number. So I anticipate the cost to be a little bit less than this, but that's just what the costs are. I met with the chiefs and the folks, the executive director of the 911 board and of the state's Homeland Security Division yesterday, kind of voicing some of our concerns about the consolidation and stuff like that, and cost, and our inability to have a say, a meaningful say in what those costs are. But nonetheless, this is 23% of the budget that the North Little Rock City Council passed not too long ago.
And then the next, if you'll go to page, I believe it's 36, which will be our capital request. That's $395,000.
$58.
Yeah, page
Yeah,
58.
you'll have a different copy, sorry, I have an old copy I'm working off of.
Page 58.
Okay. Pull up the right one.
He wasn't here last night to get him. What? Said he wasn't here last night to get him a copy.
Okay. 330,000, my apologies. With that $330,000, that allows us to purchase 3 new vehicles, and that's the largest portion of that amount. Let me go ahead and discuss miscellaneous capital, because this is something I have no control over, but the 2 of our weather warning systems are no longer serviceable. They haven't been serviceable in quite some time. Kind of like Philip was saying, we've babied it along, doing repairs and patching together with parts from around, but these things were installed in the 90s, and it's just becoming so expensive to maintain, and now we're unable to maintain or upgrade. And that's 2 of them at a price of $45,000 a piece.
You talking outdoor warning systems?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just sirens.
Yeah.
We've got it, that's kind of a must. I mean, you can cut most things out, but we don't want to. The weather, so we need those.
Yeah.
I just wanted to address that, and that would also bring them up to compliance, I believe, with North Little Rock and their ability to, where they set them off. Public safety equipment is the other capital request, and it's $40,000, and this is to upgrade and purchase 50 new Glock pistols. Our last set of Glocks are 20 years old, was the last time that we cycled out our firearms, and the trend and the industry standard at this point is transitioning from 40 caliber to 9mm, and so
Which means your trade-ins aren't worth much.
well, there were some, but, and this is a great opportunity, and this is something I wanted to address the council with. You're right, our trade-ins wouldn't be worth as much, and this would be a lot more expensive a project. But because of the trade-in value, and we were gifted by federal probation and parole an additional 20 40 caliber Glocks that match what we have, we're able to use those as a trade-in as well. So that helps to bring this cost down considerably. The $40,000 includes the Glock. We have to buy new holsters at $300 a piece, and we're going ahead and upgrading to the other industry standard, which is the use of red dot sights on handguns. I've actually fought that for a while, but seeing the numbers with North Little Rock and other agencies, it is a dramatic improvement, and something that is going to be the future. So I believe that's everything I've asked for.
That is definitely not everything you asked for, that's all that made it into the budget. To be clear, he wanted 9 police vehicles, to which we whittled it down to 3. But I guess if you're not gonna get it if you don't ask, so.
Well, there's
And then
9
if you-
Fords in the shop right now, so.
There's a few other things.
Done. But we only have 2 Chevys.
Because they're not reliable, that's true.
I will say this, just as a heads up, I missed the uniforms provided. I probably would have pulled them out, and I think I pulled them out of a similar department, simply because, it is not a pay raise, but it is money that goes to employees, and then my position was, I wasn't gonna change those or add anything like that in, until the council sort of approved it, and as we were looking at whether or not, we were gonna try and make some salary adjustments in accordance with that thing. I'm just saying that because if it's in there, I've kind of typically initialed off on it and said, okay, this is worth presenting. I missed this one in personnel, so.
Hence the looks.
Yeah, that's right, you said it, and I was like, no, I think I took that out, and I went and I was like, well, no, it's right there.
On that 40,000 for the new guns, since you'll be going over from 40 to 9 mil, wouldn't that involve changing out all your ammunition?
That is another portion of this trade-up. The company that is going to facilitate the trade-out is going to trade us 1 for 1, so that there's no cost of ammunition
So
for us.
it'd just be a swap. Oh, that's great, yeah. I was wondering if that was gonna be a hidden expense or
Have to
something.
shoot it up, yeah.
Right, yeah, no, because honestly, getting ammo there's times that it takes 18 months to get ammunition. So, it's insane. We haven't faced that in a couple of years, but it's been recent that it took over 18 months from time of order to the time of delivery of ammunition. And again, industry standard in Little Rock and North Little Rock have already transitioned, so if something were to really go down, we're able to interact with our sister agencies
So
around
they're
us.
already on the new caliber, gotcha.
They're finally getting smarter. Military intelligence.
Did you ever quit listening to the FBI?
Any additional questions for Chief Pickard? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh.
No.
There was
Yellow's
several personnel requests. One of those requests was to convert one of the police captain positions into a police major position, just so that there was a clearer chain of command in the police department in the event that the chief is not available. It's just very clear, so that the major would basically, you'd eliminate a captain position and create a major position. So it'd go chief, major, then 3 captains instead of 4. There are occasions where a chief could be on vacation, and the standard protocol is kind of when they're out of pocket, they contact the 4 captains and say, here's who's in charge on this particular day and shift. But that message doesn't always get communicated perfectly, and it creates that better chain of command just at that level to begin with. So that was a request that had a dollar amount that is not a net new position, but is talking about the organizational structure. I don't know that we have a specific dollar amount, but we, as to what that would be really quickly, but probably in the order of a 10% over their current salary, so probably $8,000 or $9,000 to bump from that pay grade up, but I don't have that number exactly. I just wanted to mention that because I assume come the next council meeting, we're gonna be talking about some of the position requests and stuff, and so if anyone has any questions about that while Chief Pickard is here,
would that be additional responsibilities? I mean, obviously, to some degree, yes.
Correct, yes.
Would that captain have to transition out of what they're currently doing, or would it be like a?
No, they would take on extra responsibilities in addition to their current responsibilities. Also, as the council knows, I've said that the future is we're modernizing the police department and also increasing it to the size that it should be. So this year, I'm not asking for additional bodies because I can't fill the 3 I've got open. So, but what I do or could use is a little bit cleaner org chart and have the major position in there. Because there are times that, due to my health and other things, that I am unavailable for extended periods of time. So
Do our sister agencies have those in place?
most have assistant chiefs, but I don't think that we need something quite to that level. Just somebody to help out with some of the clerical things.
So basically, the idea is that they keep whatever the division that they're over, plus take on additional administrative duties, and then clear up and shore up the chain of command in the event that the chief is on vacation or those things, just so that, or that one person is arriving. It's not uncommon, a big scene or an active scene with 2 captains, who's in charge? Even if the chief is, I don't know, phone battery died and they can't get a hold of him, or just those things. What is happening in those situations? It just provides that clear chain of command. But anyway.
Would that be a position where it naturally falls to a certain, I'm not picking on a certain captain, but a certain captain that's over a certain area? Like patrol. Would in the future, would the patrol captain always be the one that's eligible for major, or would it just depend on
It would
which
depend.
captain was promoted to major? It could be
It would be
any of the.
it would be it wouldn't be assigned to a specific captain. So it wouldn't just be patrol captain. It'd be the most logical choice. And
so I think we're still talking about a civil service position, right?
Yes.
We'd
And
have to
so
still go through.
you'll go through a civil service position, and then that person that gets that position, and we had talked about this, for example, if you wanted to just tie it to patrol, and then that whoever got promoted was then over that division, that binds the chief's hands a little bit if the person that gets promoted just happens to not be the best at, maybe they're better suited for a different division. So it's kind of whatever that division is, and this can change and probably will over time. The idea is that whatever division they're over, plus some of the extra administrative duties passed off that an assistant chief would typically.
And that's where I was going with that. As positions change every 4 or 5 years, I didn't know if they would just get siloed to one specific.
no, because I still want to have the option and the ability to move the captains as needed. So as I get newer captains, I think that they need to go to different divisions and see how it runs, so that for the future, if somebody when it's time for me to retire and another to take over, that they have a more rounded view of the department and how things operate.
And how many officers do you have now?
Currently, we have 43 assigned slots.
Wow.
We have 40 filled, with the plan to grow to 56 is what we should be at, I believe was the numbers I gave a couple of years ago to the council.
I remember when there were like 12.
Yeah, I do too, unfortunately.
Any additional questions for Chief Pickard? Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Doreen, you are up.
All right. If it's all right, I'll just stay right here rather than moving to the end of the table.
The end of the table's where you usually
I
sit.
know, which is my assigned seat, but that's okay. So I have 3 adjustments to highlight
HR's on page 9.
in my operating budget. First, in line 43600 for membership dues, I'm requesting an additional $95. Vivian recently earned her
Next line item.
Sounds good.
her payroll professional designation, And so the small increase will ensure that she stays in good standing and receives the professional resources that she needs for accurate and compliant payroll administration. My next line is 45613, employee training. I have added $1,270. This is in response to House Bill 1958, which passed this year. And the bill requires all public entities to adopt a policy governing the authorized use of artificial intelligence and to implement a training program, just in case you'd like to see it. I see Chad.
You got the whole bill. I don't
Chad's
want them done.
eyebrows raising. So we have to have a policy, which we have written, mainly Deb being we. And, and so we have to
What happened to the one
implement.
I wrote? You guys just throw it away and replace it?
Sure, you used AI to write the AI.
Yes.
And you're saying you didn't?
After researching,
Which AI was the best?
Yes.
let's
Then
just say it was, yeah. It's just a little more, ours is a little more extensive.
Well, it's not a policy until I approve it, so.
Absolutely.
But anyways, yes, there's apparently 2 policies out there.
Nonetheless, whatever the policy ends up being,
You guys are gonna choose
I
mine.
need to
They don't choose.
have a training opportunity. Bye, Corey. See you tomorrow.
Bye,
Um,
chief.
So this funding will allow us to meet the mandate and ensure that its staff are appropriately trained. Finally, in line 43210 for software licensing, I've increased the amount to cover some UKG overages related to payroll. These overages occur when we process stop payments, reissue checks, or similar payroll actions that fall outside of our standard licensing coverage. A possible reduction in my seminar registration budget is that I have accepted the nomination to serve as the president-elect of my professional organization.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of that. And a perk is reduced rates on seminar registration. Generally, I do not do anything out of state because what I can get in state is enough for me. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I don't feel like I need to travel out of the state to go to a conference. And being a good steward of taxpayer money, I do not. So if my nomination is officially accepted next week on Thursday, unless there's a coup or something, I'll let Mayor Norris know how much I can reduce that line item. I suspect it'll be somewhere between $500 and $750. In personnel, I am requesting to reclassify our HR assistant role to HR generalist. The role has traditionally been classified as an HR generalist, but it was downgraded to an administrative assistant in what has been described to me as the great budget cut of 2020. So that was before I accepted the role of director of HR.
I remember that cut.
I've seen t-shirts from the people who survived.
I survived the great budget cut. I know you all are not going to believe this, but I am 62 minus 5 years young. So I really don't need an administrative assistant. What the city needs is a succession plan. And that is the goal of this role, to elevate that role to a generalist that I hope one day, with the mayor's blessing, assuming he's still here too.
With the people's blessing.
That will be our succession plan. So those are all my major changes. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Sweet. Thank you.
You bet. The role of city attorney will be played by.
Well,
Oh, here he comes.
Perfect
we'll
timing.
give them a minute. I'll hit the finance department since I am the interim finance director. That's on page 8.
We laugh like that's so funny.
I was not laughing today as I was trying to, as I was working through things. But by and large, the budget's pretty similar. I probably should have prepped for this. Yeah, so employee training is down. Why am I even looking at this? Let me look at the actual thing I'm used to looking at.
Hello, Andrew.
Perfect timing.
Did they just end?
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Lots on the agenda.
Which reminds me, those are the true public servants
Sir.
of Maumelle, Planning Commission.
No, you're supposed to sit there.
Oh, I'm up.
You can sit there, but.
Volunteer
It's-
position,
Yeah, thankless, isn't it?
zero pay.
Don't you want to give them a
Membership
raise?
dues, bear with me here. Membership dues, we itemized. The office machine contracts is a big jump down, but that was moved and accounted for in citywide services. We've taken, we've taken the city hall copiers and put them into citywide, into admin, not into each individual department, getting those invoices for simplicity's sake in the building. So that went down, but it's really just transferred over. And that is that basically. I'm looking at that, I mean.
What do you think, for the director position is gonna be a salary that's needed?
So, what I've done is the position was budgeted for 2025 at Beatrice's old salary, or what Beatrice's salary was. With Anthony, I knew I was bringing in someone less experienced, and so we downgraded that salary. But then I've re-put it back in the budget to what it was in the 2025 budget plus the 3%.
Okay.
That is a difficult question to answer. Our goal right now is to just repost the job. We've had a number of positions that we're getting really good applications in, especially relative to the past. Take, for example, the office administrator position in the mayor's office. It ended up this big battle of people that were all way more qualified than we thought the top candidate would be. So our goal is to apply for that and go. The reality, though, is the salary we're paying is not going to pull a top tier candidate from another entity unless they're kind of coming from a smaller entity up. I had one of the last conversations I had with Anthony the other day is he said, if you throw about another 25,000 into that position, you can start pulling some people away from some of the auditors that are actually really knowledgeable in that stuff. But we're talking about a 25% raise. So we're gonna kind of just go out and see what applications we get. And then we've discussed a headhunter or hiring, those sorts of things. But for now, let's just see what applications we get in the next couple weeks. And I've done this in the past where I had a candidate who I believed was a really good fit, and I said, here's what I can do, but I can't approve that. Let me go to the council and ask for that. I can promise you if I get somebody that is a great fit that I may call a special meeting of the city council to ask for more money.
Well, and you're budgeting for it already, and you're not gonna fill it January 1 either, which gives you some room.
Yes, but yes
But
and
it's still
no.
a salary,
So
yeah.
this is my philosophy is if I fill it in February, I'm not gonna commit to a salary that binds y'all to give an above average increase in the next budget session. So I would at the very least come to y'all and say, hey, just so you know, if you guys are okay with this, it's gonna have an impact next year, but for this year, we're okay. That's just my philosophy for when I was on the council and what I would have preferred. I didn't like the idea of being bound by those things. But it is, a very top priority right now is trying to fill that position, with somebody that is, that really knows, fund accounting. Even Beatrice, who was a, retired, retired accountant, moving to fund accounting was a very rocky start. It was a very, rocky start to somebody who, thankfully, I mean, she probably took about a 50% pay decrease to come, just so we're on par, but it's just a different beast.
Yeah.
And there's a smaller pool of people that can fill these positions, so. I made that overly wordy, but,
What he meant to say is we got it covered.
no, I'll come to y'all if, I'm not going to dilly-dally on this, because, we've got end of year, we gotta start prepping for the budget, we've gotta, and in the interim, I'm taking over some of those duties, which means that I'm spending a lot of time in OpenGov, just doing some of those transactions. Thankfully, I've got a pretty good, list of what those things are, but it's still bumpy. So
Yeah.
that is my incentive.
You don't need to be doing that, so.
I do not
Yeah.
want to be doing that, no.
Alright.
Anyways, anything else on finance? We'll go on to city attorney, Mr. Thornton.
Yes, thank you, sir.
That's
I'm
page 10.
Yeah, I'm on page 10 and page 45, I guess. My department is just me and a part-time legal assistant, so it's pretty simple compared to all the other departments that you all review. I just want to call out one line item. On page 10, there's a line item called professional legal, which is about 4 from the bottom. This is one that's always variable. You can see in 2023 it was 28,000, 24 only 3,500, 25 80,000 and change. It's variable because it's outside counsel expenses, and this year there was a large judgment that we paid, and it was assigned to this line item. It was the judgment in that eminent domain case we had, so it was payment for real estate. That being said, although it is variable, we keep it low. We keep it just at $6,000 with the intention that if we do have outside counsel fees, I'll get a quote and I'll come to you all with a budget resolution so that you all will have better visibility on those kinds of expenses.
The adopted
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Budget, at least for the city attorney, transfer.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, my department.
That's it?
You got enough pens and pencils, you're good there.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you all.
Hey, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney.
Andrew, be sure to get some.
Scott, you are up.
Yeah,
We're
seriously.
hopping right into you.
Are there plates?
Yeah, there are.
Or if you want a minute, I can do admin. I'm fine with that. Let's go to admin, page 4.
The lasagna's really good.
I've never seen so much disappointment in the eyes of anyone ever.
No, I mean,
No, I'll do admin. So page 4, admin, just for everyone's knowledge, is City Hall. It's the City Hall budget for things related to the building and such. Let me, City Hall admin. I am,
I was worried about the food.
Yeah, I keep my pens and pencil budget low, I just go steal from the supply closet.
I want to fix it. The big change is building maintenance has gone up $9,800. In that line item, we have we've budgeted $1,500 for the fire sprinkler system, $5,000 for City Hall repairs and maintenance, just miscellaneous numbers. 1350 for the fire suppression system what? We'll have to double check that. The fire suppression and
How's
fire
that?
sprinkler.
Alright.
The, I've got 12,000, okay, that's what the big chunk is here. There's 12,000 for, basically converting the old revenue office area into a city museum and city store. I'm not sure if you've been in there, it needs to be repainted, new carpet, that we wanna remove the bench and just kind of turn it into more of a museum revenue, and city store. And then 5,000 in HVAC repairs. Like everyone else, we're getting hammered on some of the HVAC stuff. The next big change in that budget, this thing is much easier when you've got two big monitors, is office machine contracts. I noted that we've moved and combined a few of those other departments into this one here. And a reduction in legal notices just because we've been over on that pretty consistently for a while, so just trying to get that in. Q, 1,000 for postage is also related to the, some of the movements regarding the postage machine. And 15, and then just a couple of utility items. We've increased resale merchandise and supplies. This has a corresponding revenue line item as well, and we've been doing really well with a number of things. So, in my opinion, as long as we're able to resell at or above what we're spending, then we're good to go. So I increased the revenue by an offsetting amount there. And that's the bulk of city admin.
Plus we'll have the city store too.
I think that could do really well. I mean, it's not gonna be a huge revenue item, but that'd be neat to have.
There's
like,
Well,
more
so this
merchandise.
year we
Yeah.
ran into an issue where we're basically rotating money into that, you know. So for example, these cookbooks that just went out cost about $1,000, and we'll be expected to make about $1,000. We sell every item at or above the cost. We're not trying to make a profit, but sometimes it's just easier to round it to $1 or, you know, whatever those are. And it's been seeing some success. The Christmas ornaments, just T-shirts, license plate covers, and some.
The t-shirts have been a huge success because we've been able to buy really high quality.
Yeah.
And we have some vendors that are local and they work with us. And so then we can sell them for a lower price. So that's a t-shirt you'd buy off the street at $35 and we're able to sell it lower. So people have been asking for more things. They're like, when are we gonna get quarter zips? Well, you know.
Right.
But there was some confusion on my part as far as with the budgeting, as far as not realizing they were two separate line items. That just because you can't put it right back in just because you spent it. So that was, so we basically ran out of, we ran out of funds. Just being honest.
Anything else in admin? Scott with Planning and Economic Development, page 26.
It used to be Scott of the Grummers, but I guess now.
No.
Now it's just Scott.
It's just Scott. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe mine's fairly simple, so I'll just kind of leave open for this.
It is transposed, the adopted budget, presented budget. What's that?
You want me to go on? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
please.
Page 5.
So, when you're looking at my budget, I'll just kind of go from the top down. Of course, our proposed revenues at 488. Of course, the 2025 budget was at 488. Of course, when you look at year-to-date actuals, and something I need to check with finance because my records show that we're at about 410 and not 382, and that's taken out for things that aren't necessarily our revenue side. But one of the reasons for the lower, first off, I had over 153 permits this year. We've normally, over the last 10 years, decades, we've averaged around 90, between 90 and 100. I had projected over 220 permits this year, and one of the reasons why we didn't hit our goal, I say it's not really our goal, but we had 2 subdivisions, Cypress Bend 2 and Stone Canyon was anticipated to be, the Phase 1 final plat was anticipated to be filed in early July. They didn't get filed until October, and permits pulled. So they got permits started late, and so the starts didn't come in as we anticipated. So we are going to be under budget on our revenue, but we do anticipate, because Stone Canyon's come online and they're moving fast on that, and then Stony Mountain as well will get started underway. That probably will not be ready in 2026, but we're going to have the ones that we didn't get from Cypress Bend Phase 2 next year that'll be coming in, and I anticipate good production out of Stone Canyon next year. So either way, we decided to keep the revenues where that's at. When you go down, salaries, of course, increased because of the reorganization that we had, placing economic development within my department. We have, and then all the other line items under personnel expenses.
6.
Sorry.
Hold on, 60.
Oh, I've got it, okay.
And then let's see, then under operating, the majority of the items that had increases were due to line items that were under the mayor's budget, under economic development, that moved over into mine. So really, the travel expense, the trade shows, brochures, those things are part of the economic development budget. So that's one of the reasons for that increase. So nothing really major there. Then when you go over to, I guess really the main change that we have at this point is the software licensing. We've started using AI more in some of what we're doing, so that that budget has increased to provide for licensing of. We're looking. ChatGPT is one of them. We use Gemini. We use Claude, and there's others. So we're just trying to figure out the balance there, but the budget increases for myself and 2 others of my staff. And then cell phone service budget increase because, again, of the reorganization of another staff person that is engaged in the cell phone. And that is the majority of the main changes.
Pardon me?
He said that,
He said that's it.
the majority of it.
That's it. I mean, unless,
I
you're surprised because I came under 3
I forgot to
minutes?
set my timer, yeah.
I figured everybody else is
And you
talking.
mentioned the Capitol?
Oh, I did not. I'm sorry. Looky there. I didn't put a mark on mine.
58.
I was trying to slip that in under the radar, I guess, thank you, Mayor. No, so yes, we have a truck. It's a 2005 model. We've been pouring money into it. We put more money into it this year. We've got an AC. It's been driven without an AC this past summer, and it's just really challenging on my staff to drive it now. I will say we've changed out the rack and pinion this year, and we got struts replaced and some other things with the budget that we had. So we poured more money into this truck than we did the other vehicles so that we could try to get it operational. We still don't have the AC working. And my concern was, how much do we pour into that versus upgrading, since it's over 20 years, since it's 20 years old now. Now I will say this: if we have budget constraints and we really need to buckle down, I can take this year's or 2026 maintenance and pour it into it and try to get that AC resolved. And we could probably carry it on for another year or 2, but it's just it's showing it. It's really showing its wear and tear. But I'm the kind of guy, I'll squeeze blood out of the turnip if I can, or out of the lemon or whatever it is.
Out of a lemon.
Out of a lemon?
Is that what you
I
said?
thought it was turnip. I think it's
Is
turnip.
it turnip? Blood out of a turnip.
You had it.
Sometimes,
You had it
sometimes
right.
if you
I
can
was
squeeze it
about to
out of
say,
a
what
lemon,
was
then
that?
you're really doing good.
I said, what was that?
I said out of a turnip.
We had a discussion during a council meeting about the chamber.
Yes.
Has there been any more discussion on that internally?
So the chamber provided a proposal, and I've kind of left that in the hands of the mayor. The chamber has to show, for an increase in support from the city, they have to meet certain criteria that is on state regulations when it comes to economic development, workforce, and other things. So the mayor asked for the chamber to provide that. She did come back with a general report. It didn't give any specifics on how that was lined out. Whenever the chamber had requested it, I actually started my own analysis. This was right after our transition, and I was in the process of preparing a report that could justify some of those things and more amounts, but it still is going to take additional work on my side in order to get there, because I've got to collaborate with the chamber and with Courtney and activities to determine, okay, what does the chamber do, what do we do, what's the percentages and portions. It's more than what you want to read on a budget.
Oh, yeah,
I've
sure.
got a pretty elaborate thing that's set up, even with a spreadsheet that calculates everything, and it can actually, but I've had to focus on also other things that haven't placed all my time into that. And I was trying to do that on behalf of the chamber to get there, but I just couldn't get it there for this budget process.
And we had put some money in, and I pulled it out, not because I don't think we should, but because this has now been an issue that's come to the council, and we've talked about the costs, numbers vary from what it's currently at to, 50,000-ish was one proposal. It is one of those things that we absolutely need to be talking about, if not now, certainly at the next meeting, where we're looking at all of the requests that aren't already in the budget, and maybe some that are, that we may want to back out of, and so that seemed like the opportune time, because when you're just talking in a void as to what the value is or what we should pay, it's easy to look at things on their own and set them at certain numbers. So when I was trying to cut the budget, I was like, this should be a discussion for all of us to have. So it'll be on the agenda certainly for the next meeting when we're really reviewing things. But we could also have that conversation more now, though there's more limited council members here now than I expect will be here on
Thursday.
next Thursday.
And I can provide additional information that I've been working on. I've gotten to the point where I can probably fine tune it and get it to you. But I will say this, in the short amount of time that I've been involved in this process, Kelly plays a tremendous role in economic development for the city, in supporting all the activities and the things that we do, programming and all that. And I think she is going to play a very large and valuable role moving forward. So I'm in full support of getting to that point. It's just the question is, how do we get there and how much?
Well said. Anything else for Scott? Thank you, sir. We'll move on to mayor's office. Rather than go down every line item, because there's a lot of changes there, I think the way I would present this is to say, at the end of the day, the mayor's office operating has a decrease of 6,300. Some of that, though, was transferred over to Scott's office. For example, the chamber membership was moved from the mayor's budget over to Scott's budget. So I don't want to make it seem like that's a net decrease all across the board. But I'll mention the increases as we threw a little extra money into advertising, and we have 2,000 set aside for, we've added 2,000 with the idea of using that for Millwood Station and promoting that. especially in its inaugural year. We have, I increased the contingency back to the pre-budget crunch years of 5,000. My goal is to not use that, but as you can see, it does get used some. That's just there so that the mayor can say I have at least $5,000 that I can spend each year without having to have it planned out in advance, if that makes sense. The big increase here, the big increase that we have is related to, hang on a second.
Mailers,
What's that?
mailers.
Yeah, is the mailers. Yeah, let me double check these. Okay, is the mailers. So I'm not sure how many of y'all get what one of the things we've been working on is trying to increase communications. The reality is social media doesn't get it and isn't necessarily the best way to tell bigger stories. It's good for snippets, but one of the problems that we've had is we can talk about what we're doing along Club Manor with Millwood Station and that area. Those come out as little blurb. So we'll have the website where that information is kind of that whole story gets told. But more than that, we'll be restarting the mayor's email blast on a monthly basis that used to be there. And then I'm not sure how many of y'all get the mailer from the city of North Little Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. They have a quarterly publication that goes out. We want to basically do something similar, especially now that we've done the reorg and we think we have the better ability. We don't need that high gloss, big thick cover. We're looking more for something along the lines of this that we can put out on a quarterly, and you could just pass that down. It won't be that subject, or maybe it will, but just so that we
People always
can.
look at cute animals.
It is so difficult to stay ahead of the game with communication. I did a civics class through the city did a civics class through the senior center, and there's a number of people who still want things in their hand to read the story, and some that aren't on social media. Or we also realize that sometimes we forget just because we're posting something to social media, you could follow our page and it still doesn't hit it, right? You almost need it to go viral. So we're trying to find more ways to get things into people's hands and on their screens to tell our story. So that is a completely optional increase. I had it in the budget last year and then pulled it out at the last minute as we were trying to crunch. So I just wanted to throw that back in there and have this discussion.
I would add
go around.
I would add too, if I could, we're rolling out a little later than anticipated a new website, and the reason for the delay is that we've been able, as part of the effort to brand the city a little better, we've been able to get Parks and Rec and the police department to all have their own website, their own domains, but the websites are going to be branded similarly, and we want to launch them all at the same time. And then we're also going to have more of a tourism page, its own domain. It's going to be like visitmaumelle.org. So we're going to have that. One of the things that we can do with something like this is for the people who like something like this in their hand and they can read the story, that's great. But we can also use a QR code to drive people to the websites. For more information, go here. And then what we'd like to do too is do a big marketing campaign where we collect people's email addresses. So, sign up here and make it, front and center. So then we can start sending those folks the mayor's email. So it's it dovetails on itself, and this would just be one piece of it.
So, and we call that, and I say this every year, we've called that tourism website a tourism website, but it's not really a tourism website. It's like a a resident website, but not governmental. It's aimed to say not necessarily here's what the governmental services are, but what is in Maumelle as a resident, as a visitor, where are the parks, what's going on, what's happening, sort of
It
thing.
will have some project-related stuff on it too.
Yeah. So,
Are we required to be .gov next year,
Yeah.
or when is that requirement?
we just got the .gov.
Got the .gov, everybody. Yeah, we're required to do .gov, and it really required almost the mayor cutting off of a finger and mailing it to him to get it. It is so stringent to get a .gov. The personal information that they require from leadership is incredible.
I don't
So,
know why they needed
Chief
to know the
Pickard,
third
Chief-
person my
Chief
grandma
had to
went
do
on a
it,
date with.
The mayor had to do it, and you have to go through all
It's
these
gonna be your
steps and
password.
verifications. I had to add things to my phone, verify. It was like nothing I've ever seen.
There's not like another Maumelle.gov we were competing with, right?
No.
Well, it's
No,
one of the
what-
reasons you're supposed to be able to trust .govs, is because anybody can get a .com, but not anybody can get a .gov.
Can't go to GoDaddy and say, give me a .gov.
Yeah, exactly.
When I leave here, you can say, she got the .gov. That will be like the leading
Your
thing.
legacy.
Yeah, that's
On your
it.
tombstone.
On your tombstone.
I got the .gov.
Deb.gov.
Deb.gov.
That's a good deal, Deb.
Thank you, Tina.
Also, the IT company at one point had said that we had to be maumelle.arkansas.gov, and I fought that, and
You did.
when Tina was there, Tina's like, we should be doing this, I'm like, there's no way, I do not want my email address to be maumelle.arkansas.
Yeah, you wanna keep it as
Or
short
the
as you can.
hyphen,
Oh, so that's gotta change the email addresses too.
all of the
It's
things.
gonna, there's money built into citywide services, because we've
Repoint,
gotta pay
redrive.
to go through that whole migration. Nothing's
So
ever
will
that
all
easy.
the city council, will we all get email addresses with a .gov, or will we continue to use our old emails?
I don't know, that's not part of the .gov change at all. It is possible to get y'all your own email addresses, we just have to pay per user.
Yeah.
So it would use 8 licenses at $15 a month or whatever that,
We can just keep using our old ones.
yeah. So I just want, that is not the plan, I don't think it's necessary, but it is something that the council could do if it so chooses.
Cause I know a lot of, when you get domains, they'll give you so many email addresses and this and that.
Well,
part of the
yes,
package.
but because everything's on the cloud and we don't have our own email server, it's like you're actually paying for the full license for that account, not just the email address.
And
Is
it's
why that-
connected to our HR, and it's not the straight.
It gives us
Part of
all
it.
of our Microsoft products.
So like when you buy an email from GoDaddy and it comes with 10 email addresses or something, it's more like for each one of those email addresses, you have to pay a new monthly fee equal to the whole address. Anyways, any other questions about mayor's office? Okay.
What did you all think of the mailer? I'm curious about your opinion.
Oh.
I'm sorry, it's not that long. I know. I'm known as the troublemaker. Do you guys like it?
I think that's gonna require some like planning in advance.
Yeah,
Like, have-
absolutely.
but,
We'd
like,
have an
having a-
editorial
Having
calendar.
a calendar in there, and then the QR codes would be big.
But you can also build it through the year, cause you know what events are coming,
Yeah.
Okay,
you
but
shoot this year for next year on something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'd have absolutely an annual editorial calendar, and then we would start planning for the next year, almost in the third
And
quarter.
then you always leave a stack up there by the receptionist's desk for anybody to just pick up when they come in.
This is great.
I always read North Little Rocks right over the trash can.
I do
Read
too.
it.
Recycling.
And then I go,
Recycling.
I hope
Yeah.
a dramatic
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Throw it
But
down.
I do. I look at the whole thing.
I do
So-
too.
I owned a
And,
business in North Rock for 40 years and I never got one.
I think
They just
it's
didn't like it in
new,
North Little
it's
Rock.
a newer thing.
You can have mine. I don't
Yeah.
want.
They
Or
said
at least
they
the
didn't like my
route
business because
delivery.
I brought traffic into the area. And
So-
they just wanted community-based business.
That concludes the agenda items. The one department that still hasn't presented is senior services. They would ordinarily go one of these first couple nights, but Nicole had a medical procedure, so she asked to go next week. So she'll be presenting the senior services budget at that meeting. At that meeting also, my goal, you've been hearing a lot of commentary. Everyone here's been through this before, but for those that haven't, that third meeting is really where we're gonna start saying, hey, someone proposed this, do we need to add it? Somebody proposed this, it was in there, should it come out? That sort of stuff. We'll also be having a discussion about the payroll, the compensation study at that point to kind of go over some of what we found and what our recommendations will be, depending on how much, if any, money we want to dedicate to trying to get some of those salaries in line. So, be ready. Ideally, we'll stay until it's done, unless it looks like it's going to be a very long meeting, in which case we've got the Sunday evening set aside for a fourth meeting if need be. So, if that one goes a little bit longer.
Stay as long as you want, or we're coming back Sunday.
Yeah. So ideally that gets done. That gives us time to do the budget, reprint it. There's typos here and there. Get y'all the budget, and then it'd be on the council meeting that following Monday. So, if there's nothing further, then I'll say we're adjourned. I'm gonna go turn off the recording, but until that light is off, we are still live.
Ed, when it comes to setting up that store up there, if you have, they'll be having 40 years or multiple, retail locations. Any questions you got, I'd be happy
We
to share
would
information.
love to have the help
Oh, sure.
and any advice, cause we,
Cause I'm sure you're gonna have to be doing, you're probably gonna, are
the
you gonna need
chief of
a
staff
resale
position
permit?
is just like, figure it out, here's what needs to be done, and like, so, that
Cause
would
you're
be,
probably gonna have to collect sales tax and things like that.
yeah, I don't even know how any of that is.
Yeah, you gotta get a permit with the Department of Finance and Administration.